All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Another PM&R Scholar session. For those of you that this is your first session, we're just trying to provide you guys content to help you with your career, help you treat patients, and trying to keep a variety for students, for residents, for fellows, and even some early career attendings. So tonight we're extremely lucky. We have one of the true leaders in the field of lifestyle medicine. Dr. Frates is here. Dr. Frates went to her undergraduate at Harvard, and then she went to Stanford Medical School. And then she went back to Boston to complete her residency in PM&R. And upon graduating, her original interest was in stroke and preventing stroke. And as time went on, she realized that a lot of her interests lied in preventive medicine and making lifestyle changes to live a healthier lifestyle medicine. So she's the top of the field of lifestyle medicine. She's a member of the board of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and she also developed and teaches a course on lifestyle medicine at Harvard Medical School. So we're incredibly lucky to have her, and we're really excited for her topic.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, George, and inviting me. I'm going to share my slides with you now, and we'll get going on our topic. I don't know how you usually run these, but I don't look at the chat very much. So maybe if you, George, can be looking at the chat for me, and if somebody has a question that you think I should address, perhaps you can let me know. I also am completely comfortable with somebody saying, excuse me, Beth or Dr. Frates or whatever you want to say. I have a question. So you can just, we can make this a little bit interactive. And I know a lot of people don't have their cameras on, which is completely fine. If you do end up talking, sometimes it's nice for me to see who I'm talking to. So if you do end up asking a question, it might be nice to turn your camera on just so I can meet you. But anyway, let's get going. We're going to talk about wellness, and that'll get into healthy habits, lifestyle medicine. And to begin, I must give my disclosures. I am on the advisory board for Jenny Craig. I've been on that for 10 years, and newly, as of 2 years ago, the advisory board for Obvious Solutions. I do have my own wellness coaching, lifestyle medicine practice. And today, in our time together, we're going to talk about wellness and what does it mean. I'm going to introduce to you Paving the Path to Wellness, a program that I created about 7 years ago, and I've been using it with medical students. I've been using it with residents, with physicians, practicing attendings, full professors to first-year medical students have been using this, and patients, stroke patients, traumatic brain injury patients have also been using the Paving the Path to Wellness program. And hopefully we'll be able to identify some strategies and tools that you guys can use today if you're looking to increase and enhance your feeling of wellness and sense of thriving. So hopefully that sounds good to you. Let me start by giving you a patient example of, well, burnout, unwellness leading to disease, and then full-on lifestyle changes. So in this photograph, this gentleman is 72, but I'm going to take you 20 years earlier to a time when he was 52 years old. At that time, he was overweight, overworked, New York City businessman who dined almost exclusively on fast food, cookies, cakes, sweets like candies in his middle drawer at work, no vegetables, just French fries, and hardly slept because he was so dedicated and devoted to his work. He was there till late at night, and then he would come home, consume any kind of sweet or savory quick snack he could, try to go to bed, but continue to write notes throughout the night about to-do lists, and the stress level was very, very high. Even though he had been a really good athlete, he was an athletic man at this time, middle-aged, he wasn't doing any activity, physical activity, exercise. That's actually not entirely true. There's one thing that he would do, one thing, and that thing he would do would be sporadic. You wouldn't know which day he'd do it, but you know which time he'd do it. It was always at the same time, 11:07 p.m. And it was a sprint, a mad dash. He would just do sprint at 11:07 because he worked on Park Avenue, 101 Park Avenue, and he needed to make it to Grand Central Station to catch the last train home. So if he had left at 11:07 and he did a mad dash sprint, he would make it onto the train. He had timed it. If he didn't make it, he would sleep on the cot at work, which was a terrible sleep. So he would really race to catch the train. And on one of these mad dash sprints, he had a little bit of pain. No pain, no gain. He forges forward and he makes the train. You guys are probably thinking that you know what happens. Well, by the end of the trip, he feels as if an elephant is accompanying him on his chest. The pressure and pain is so severe. Numbness and tingling down his left arm into his fingers. Diaphoretic, sweaty, right? Short of breath. Heart is racing. Pale. His wife, who was a teacher, no experience in medicine at all, elementary school teacher, takes one look at him at 11:37 when he arrives home and takes him directly to the local emergency room where he completes his massive myocardial infarction and subsequent right middle cerebral artery infarct, leaving him paralyzed on the left side. So that is a story of this one gentleman, but is a very common story. And throughout my residency, I saw many men and women just like this man. I know this story so well, and I know about the candy in his middle drawer at work because that's my dad, and I was 18 when that happened. So I am happy to share that he made a full recovery, except for fine motor movement of the left hand. And you know, in PM&R, as we treat strokes routinely, it's that fine motor movement that's difficult to return. But he lived fully, and he lived his best years after his stroke. He lived 20 years after his stroke. And he made a complete lifestyle change. He went to Pritikin and Whitaker, which were the available lifestyle medicine programs in the 80s. This happened to him in 1987. And he changed his diet. Suddenly there were green vegetables on our plate, and suddenly the snacks and the sweets were gone, and fruit became the dessert in our house. And we really lived by the Harvard Healthy Plate. If you don't know that, that half the plate is vegetables with some fruit, half the plate is whole grain, and a quarter of the plate is whole grain, and a quarter of the plate is a healthy protein. Now we recommend as many plants, nuts, seeds, legumes as we can get in. But in that time, it was avoiding red meat and having fish and some chicken. So he also got a stationary bike, which he was on for 5 days a week, 1/2 hour religiously. Changed his work hours so that he was in work at 10 and out at 2. He had dinner with us, his family. He had a good relationship with my mom, and he slept. And he learned stress resiliency techniques, a lot of deep breathing. So I am passionate about this topic, and I went into PM&R because I wanted to work with stroke patients. That's why I chose that specialty when I was at Stanford. No one really encouraged me to do this. And this is back in 1996 when I graduated. In fact, many people told me not to go into PM&R. But I was dedicated, and I knew that this specialty would provide me with the opportunities that I was seeking to really help stroke survivors regain their function. And what I was even interested in at that time, although it wasn't part of any specialty in particular, was preventing the next stroke, not preventive medicine. That was in my day in the 96 arena. Preventive medicine was about epidemiology. It wasn't about working with the patients one-on-one. It's changed, and it is now. And of course, we have lifestyle medicine, which is blossoming, and we have a board certification. I was actually one of the 4 item writers for that examination to get board certified. But after PM&R residency at Harvard, I went and worked with stroke patients. I wrote a book about how to prevent a second stroke. And that's when I learned all about lifestyle medicine. I didn't learn about nutrition at Stanford. We didn't have a course. I didn't learn about exercise prescription at Stanford. We didn't have a course on that, or on stress resiliency. I learned it all myself, studying it myself, to write that book. And then I got into coaching, health and wellness coaching, and motivational interviewing. And that's what really solidified my career in this area of lifestyle medicine. And the segue into wellness and burnout is a lot of the tools I'm going to share with you today are what we're using to help people who are in burnout and to help prevent burnout. Certainly, when I meet with the Harvard medical students, I've been meeting with them routinely, weekly, and every other week, doing Paving the Path to Wellness, which I'm going to share the details of with you tonight. We're doing it with medical students so that they will learn to adopt these behaviors. They will learn how to manage stress, how to prioritize their balance and well-being, so that we won't hit burnout with this generation of physicians. That's our goal. Let me tell you a little bit about this program, which I developed in probably 2010, and then started using it with patients in 2012, and now it's a part of Spalding's program. Started using it with physicians routinely when burnout got higher and higher and a greater percentage. And by the way, PM&R did have a high percentage of burnout. And I started using it with the physicians at Mass General Hospital, surgeons, anesthesiologists, internal medicine folks. And we have been, now we're in the 3rd year of utilizing the program. So what is Paving the Path to Wellness? It is not just exercise, diet, and stress. It's really a holistic program. I think many of you this will resonate with many of you. It talks about a healthy body, yes. It talks about a peaceful mind. And it also gets into a joyful heart, soulful, spiritual, the sense that we are more than the being, the cells that we are. We crave connection. We want purpose. We need natural sources of energy. So to put it all together in this paving program, it's a mnemonic. This is how I got through Stanford, actually, and not so much of medical school and training and residency with mnemonics. So paving the path to wellness, you talk about physical activity, the all-important attitude and beliefs that we carry with us, having variety, not just in our workouts with strength training and aerobic training, but a variety of stress resiliency techniques, a variety of friendships, a variety of vegetables on the plate, the whole rainbow of the plate. We'll talk more about this. And then constantly investigating. This is the key. You can start doing this now. Experimenting with things. Just give something a try. If you fail at it or if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Failure or mishaps are opportunities to learn and grow. That leads us into our attitudes piece that we're going to talk about. But investigating, constantly experimenting with things, even coming to this seminar, the fact that you chose to come here tonight means that you're open and you may well try something that I talk about today and experiment with it in your own lives. What I teach you and we talk about tonight is also applicable to every patient that you're going to see, especially those that are pre-diabetic, struggling with weight, have chronic conditions. Nutrition, we'll go over some of it. We could talk for 4 hours on this or more. actually probably 12 hours or more, but I'm going to just give you some tidbits to take home with you and share with you some research that you may enjoy. Then goal setting is critical. We set goals for our careers, we set goals in medical school, how to get to residency, but what we don't set goals around is our health and wellness, when we must prioritize our health and wellness and make it a priority in our lives from today going forward. Thinking about how we can be our best selves, because that's how we'll be our best at work, our best physicians, clinicians. Now, what's the remaining 6 steps? Paving the Path to Wellness is 12 steps. Stress management, time outs, taking vacation, energy, natural sources of energy, a sense of purpose in life, sleeping. This is where so many physicians don't meet the guidelines. Social support, being socially connected to others, having high quality connections with your friends, your colleagues, your family. It's critical that we cultivate these. All right, so let's go through this. I talked about the healthy body. So the 3 steps that are in the healthy body arena: physical activity, nutrition, and sleep. You could have guessed that if I gave you a pop quiz. Peaceful mind, stress resiliency, attitude, and timeouts. A joyful heart, that soulful spiritual peace. Natural sources of energy, social connection, and a strong sense of purpose. Then we need action to keep this going around and to keep us motivated to do this work. Variety, investigations, and setting goals will keep us moving and keep us engaged in this process. Now, I've been on this journey, we call it a wellness journey because there really is no destination, it keeps going, since I was 18. So I've been on this journey quite a long time, and I'll tell you, the journey is the joy. Then being present in each moment of your life, that's the joy. So Harvard Health worked with me to create a Paving the Path to Wellness questionnaire. And we set a radar plot for each of these different areas. Patients, clinicians that are taking the program grade themselves in how they are doing with physical activity, how they're doing with nutrition and sleep. We have 5 questions for each of these 12 steps. I can forward that to you guys if you're interested. You can take it when you'd like. If you'd like, you can share it. You can give it to patients. It is a Harvard Health publication. It has Harvard Health on it. It's copyrighted through them, but you can utilize it for sure. So we'll start with physical activity. If you were standing in front of me, if we were face to face, I would say, what are some of the reasons that you exercise? I generally get the same reasons, and they are reduces stress. I feel better when I exercise. These are medical students or even clinicians. Some say weight management, older ones. The attending physicians that I work with, they'll say weight management. And I want to share with you something you may not even know, and many of the clinicians, the attendings, the practicing physicians don't know this fact about exercise, and that is it has a big impact on the brain. And this is through research we have found that one particular area of the brain, the hippocampus, can actually increase in volume with exercise. So those that are exercising, about reaching the guidelines, 150 minutes per week, after 4-6 weeks, you can see an increase in volume of the hippocampus. And you remember the hippocampus is involved in consolidating memories. We have a diabetes epidemic, obesity epidemic, and dementia. So one of the things that we really want to try to do is keep our memories. You know, my dad had the stroke and the heart attack, and then my mom had dementia. So I can talk to you intimately about these diseases and what they do, not just from the books, but as a family member. The other thing about exercise that you may not know is that here's what you probably have learned in medical school, this whole chart, right? Maximizes cardiac output, lowers blood pressure. These are all the things that we learn in medical school. And the things that most people want to hear about are how it impacts the brain. Did you know there's something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor? I don't know if you've heard of this or not. Since I can't see your faces, you're all black boxes. Who knows? But I'm hoping I'm teaching you something today. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Here you will see it's released after exercise. One of the ways we can increase our BDNF is through exercise. My colleague here, Dr. John Rady, is a psychiatrist. He calls this miracle growth for the brain. Why? Because when it's released after exercise, it actually protects your neurons and it repairs neurons and it helps in neurogenesis, actually increasing the number of neurons in your brain. Now, when I went to medical school, if you could believe it, we didn't know that you could increase the number of neurons in your brain. We thought you were born with a certain number of neurons and that was it. And you needed to protect all your neurons. And of course, we still want to protect all our neurons, but we realize we can actually increase the number of neurons in our brain. And exercise is one way to do this. Talked about the hippocampus, something we realize you probably all know, norepinephrine is released after exercise. Endorphins, we talk about this a lot with the high you feel after exercising. But something that isn't talked about a lot, and I don't know why, is that actually serotonin is released. And as you know, many antidepressants are serotonin reuptake inhibitors to increase the amount of serotonin that we have. Studies have shown, take Prozac or exercise 150 minutes in the week, 4 weeks, because that's how long it takes, right, for an antidepressant to kick in. You do antidepressant 4 weeks, you do exercise 4 weeks. The increase in serotonin, similar. The decrease in depressive symptoms, similar. Dopamine is also released, which helps with motivation, focus, and learning. Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm a runner. I've been a runner since probably, probably high school. And I love the high, right, that this runner's high I get afterwards. I also feel far more creative after running. And I definitely know when I've gone through phases of not being able to run after having my kids, they're now 20 and 18, but when they were little babies and I was writing the book and I wasn't exercising, it definitely affects my mood. I don't know if you guys feel this, but we have research that shows it now. And here's an investigation. Try exercising for 4 weeks and see how you feel. The other thing that you need to realize is sitting is the new, you may have heard this already, smoking. This is from research from a few years ago that showed with 8,800 Australians, each additional hour of television watched per day translated to an 11% increase in all-cause mortality. The recommendations are to stand every hour. If you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, you're to stand every half hour because our physiology changes when we're sitting. You may have already learned this. Sedentary physiology, lipoprotein lipase has changed such that triglyceride levels go up. HDL can go down. Our ability to manage glucose in our systems goes down as we're sitting for a prolonged period. So people always ask, but if I exercise the 150 minutes in the week, isn't that good enough? Well, it's very good and you get a lot of health benefits from that, absolutely. But it doesn't, research is showing, it doesn't negate the problem of sitting for 7 hours in a row, which is what many people do in their office jobs and in their commutes. Well, now it's COVID when they're just sitting at home. So how are you guys going to fit this in? And how do my colleagues fit this in? And how do I do this with a busy practice? Well, you can have a treadmill workstation. You've probably seen this. Probably heard about it. A lot of my friends do have these, and they're wonderful. You can do your work while you are walking. You're not going to jog and do this while you're walking. Having walking meetings. I see all my lifestyle medicine clients walking, and I'm in New England. We walk whatever the weather. This is my desk chair. This is not me, and this is not actually my ball, but I'm saying I have an exercise ball as a desk chair that I've been using for years. And it's fantastic. I can bounce on it. I can do some exercises on it. And if you're on a conference call, not a Zoom meeting, you can be bouncing around and doing push-ups while you're on the conference call. Zoom has changed that. COVID changed that. So I sort of have changed my style in these things. But I also have this, which is a bicycle workstation. You can actually bike. You could stand. Standing workstation is great too. Or you can sit. So I alternate throughout the day. Sometimes I'm biking, sometimes I'm standing. It all depends. And this I could do during Zoom. And people know it depends what meeting. And I'll say, oh, you guys, I'm gonna be biking. And most people who know me will say, oh yeah, it's great. And then some of them say, oh, well, I'm gonna stand, or I'm gonna, they want to do something too. If you want something less expensive, that is about $200, what I showed you. This is $50. This is great. My mom used this, by the way. Patients use this, a portable peddler. You can put it under any desk. And that's an option. Of course, biking to work when you're going back to work is also an option, but the helmet and being safe is critical. And in Boston, it's very tricky to commute this way. This is what I want for my birthday. No one has given it to me yet. I've been asking for 3 solid years, and it's a conference bike. This, I think, would be the most fun thing. This is somewhere in Europe. You gotta love the Europeans. And so how are you gonna fit this in? You're gonna fit this in by being creative, investigating, and trying new things. That's how you're gonna fit it in. Using a wearable device can help you to keep track. The Peloton app, by the way, in COVID, there was a whole period where it was free. I don't think it is anymore, but that's wonderful. We talked a little bit about these other options, the exercise ball, the treadmill. There were free online classes during COVID. I'm not sure if they're still going on. This 7-minute exercise routine, if you haven't seen it, it's the New York Times 7-minute exercise routine. You could actually Google that, and you could do this together in the hospital in a break for 7 minutes, even taking the stairs for 10 minutes, doing something. And then this is my buddy, Dr. John Rady, Harvard professor who wrote Spark the Revolutionary New Science of Exercise in the Brain. He's the one I said BDNF, he calls it Miracle Grow for the Brain. We're gonna go to the next step, which is a really important one. It's attitude. Our words make worlds. What we tell ourselves every day is really important, our self-talk. We can wallow in disappointment. Toddlers aren't the only ones that throw temper tantrums. I'm sure you've seen some attendings do so, and you don't want to be one of them. So you need to start adopting healthy mindsets, one of which is a growth mindset. This is Carol Dweck's work from Stanford. With a growth mindset, when you have a mishap or make a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. Yes, you say, what was the mistake? How do I prevent it from happening again? And then you say, and what will I do now differently? And how will I learn and grow from whatever happened? In lifestyle medicine, in the handbook that I wrote, I have a whole section. It's called Live and Learns. Let's learn from mistakes. Whatever we do, let's try to learn from them. Now, Carol Dweck's work and research shows there are 2 electrophysiological signals. So put the probes on the brain, quiz people in simple quizzes, and basically you have to identify the middle letter of 5. So they'll put MM, NMM, and the subject has to identify the N as the middle letter. That kind of an experiment. When somebody makes a mistake, there's the first response is the electrical signal that correlates with the, oh no, I made a mistake. Then there's another response, an electrical response after that. There's 2. And that is correlating with, I made that mistake. What happened? How do I do it differently? It's kind of the analysis of it. And they can check these two potentials while people are taking the test. Those that have a larger response in the second one, oh, how can I change it? Analyzing the mistake. When they're given the test a second time, they make less errors. So if people take the test, they make the mistake and they focus in on, oh no, I made the mistake, oh no, and that potential is larger than the, oh, okay, so let's analyze this. What did I do wrong? What am I going to do differently? The analysis of it. They are what's called in a fixed mindset, the opposite of a growth mindset. Fixed mindset is I made a mistake, I'm bad. Growth mindset is I made a mistake, I can learn and grow. So adopting this growth mindset, if you don't know Carol Dweck's work, I recommend it highly. Here's the book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Dr. Carol Dweck. Other things that you can use and other attitudes. Unfortunately, we don't have 12 hours, which would be great if I could teach this to you in 12 hours, but we don't have it. So another attitude I would encourage you to adopt is gratitude. Gratitude journals have been shown to decrease depressive symptoms after using them for 1 month. So this is good for your patients and for yourself. I have had clients that have done this. They write 3 things for which they're grateful at night, and they try to do this for a month. By the end of the month, depressive symptoms go down. They feel better. It's a good exercise to try. Here's something you may investigate with. Meditation, if you haven't tried it, or mindfulness-based meditation from John Kabat-Zinn at UMass. I've taken CME courses in this, and it's phenomenal. Really helps to reset yourself and reduce stress. Even deep breaths can turn on your parasympathetic system. That long exhalation is what we need to get out of that stress response. Yoga can be very helpful if you haven't tried it. Laughing, of course, is always wonderful. And finding the time for laughter. Many of my clients say, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've laughed in a month when I have a session with them. Laughing is actually, I wrote an article on this with some Harvard medical students. I think it was published in 2016 in the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine. It just reviewed all the literature on how laughter impacts the physiology of the body. Happier is a great book that talks about how to live your life moment to moment mindfully so that you can be happier. Tal Ben-Shahar was actually a professor at Harvard, and he had the most widely acclaimed and highest attendance of any course at Harvard. He then left a couple of years later, but and no one has ever beat his records for attendance. And his class was The Science of Happiness, and this is his book, Happier, if you haven't seen it. Next is variety. We already really went through it. This isn't a complex concept. It is all about trying new things and adding diversity into your life. Rainbow on your plate, like I mentioned, cross-training, new friends. There's actually literature about having a variety of options for patients, for ourselves when we exercise. If there are a variety of options available to us, we're more likely to stick with the exercise session for longer. So what can you do for variety? What vegetables will you try? What new vegetables will you try this week? What new exercise will you try this week? What friend will you call that you haven't called in a really long time? Maybe it's a high school friend. Making a recording of these for 1 week, the different exercises that you do or vegetables that you've eaten, actually logging them. What gets measured gets managed. This is true for patients. This is true for ourselves. Okay, the next thing we already talked about, and that's investigations. So the other piece of investigations I didn't mention is keeping up with the medical literature. It's really important to keep seeing what's new. And you know PubMed. You can just go into PubMed and do a search. I do it a lot, like exercise and health, diet and health, vegetables and longevity. You know, you just constantly be investigating how to lead a healthy life. It's my N of 1. You are the experimenter and you are the subject. And you just constantly think about ways you can be improving. ways you can be enhancing your wellness in this Paving the Path program. One thing that I would encourage you to investigate is your strengths. This is a free questionnaire online, viacharacter.org, and it's values in action, inventory of strengths. When we know what we're good at and we utilize our strengths, we actually are happier. Finding things that you're good at and opportunities to use those strengths in work, at home, whenever you can. You feel a sense of accomplishment, of happiness. Now, for tools of investigations, maybe you use your pedometer. They're on the phone now, and you see how many steps you're taking in a day, just for fun. I don't know, maybe you've never checked that. It might be interesting to see what you do on the weekends and the weekdays, but figure out something fun to investigate. Keeping logs, in perhaps a sleep log, might be good for you medical students and residents. And I mentioned PubMed and getting into the journals. Now let's just talk a little bit about diet. Pretty hot topic. Told you about my dad utilizing the Harvard Healthy Plate. And this is what I use, and most lifestyle medicine practitioners do. Vegetables and fruit, healthy whole grain, healthy protein. With lifestyle medicine, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine focuses on plants, plant-based protein, nuts, seeds, legumes. With Walt Willett, who is the guru at Harvard, he's at the School of Public Health and a colleague of mine. Now, he created this Harvard Healthy Plate, and fish he includes for the omega-3 fatty acids twice a week, no more, because of contaminants and mercury. Poultry he views as neutral. He says he doesn't believe there's a real benefit, but there's not necessarily a detriment, as there is with red meat, especially processed meat. You know this. So it's really about beans, nuts, seeds, legumes, if you can add those, and the fish, if you're not fully plant-based, and you're doing the Mediterranean at twice a week. And it's not going to always look like this, right? The Harvard Healthy Plate. It looks any number of ways, but the proportions are basically what I reviewed with you. Dr. David Katz is a good friend. He was at Yale, and he has been in the area of nutrition for years. He looks at all the different diets, and he's done different reviews. His latest one, he's due for another one. His latest one was in 2014, looking at the various types of diets that are out there. And what are the health benefits of these diets? And what are the compatible elements? So if you look at the variety of diets, right, the mixed, kind of balanced, Paleolithic, Mediterranean, low glycemic, low fat, vegan, vegetarian, low carbohydrate, the compatible elements that all these things share, all these different diets share: limited refined starches, no added sugars, processed foods are out, limited intake of certain fats, trans fats, emphasis on whole plant foods, with or without lean meats, fish, poultry, or seafood, as we just discussed. That is what the American College of Lifestyle Medicine would call a whole food plant-based diet. Now, they won't include, they would do without lean meats, fish, poultry, and seafood. So what tools are you going to use for this? The Mediterranean diet, there's a lot of research behind it. There's Dr. Walt Willett's book, Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy, if you don't know it. I love farmers markets, community share. These are great ways to get vegetables. If you increase your intake of vegetables from 3 servings to 5 servings in a day, you decrease your risk of cardiovascular disease by 30%. There's a lot of research around eating vegetables and the health improvements you can have from eating vegetables. The focus a lot of times is on vegetables and getting patients to consume more vegetables. That is something that most people do not debate. A lot of the other parts of the diet people will debate, but the vegetables generally are not debatable. Nutritionfacts.org, that's a great website. Nutritionfacts.org. Michael Greger is in charge of that. It's a great website. It's got a lot of great research articles there. There's a salad in a jar that you can, there's a whole book. It's actually called Salad in a Jar. And you can bring your salad to work this way. Thinking about cooking classes. It's a great option. and trying new recipes yourself. So the next step is goal setting. You may have heard about this. Business students and other students study this. Edwin Locke's theory of goal setting. And what we try to do is make all our goals specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-sensitive. So when patients come to me and they want to lose 20 pounds, like the majority of them want to do when they come to me, and I'm not a weight loss doctor, I'm a lifestyle medicine specialist, but when I work with people, they do lose weight. So what happens is they then go out into the community and everyone says, oh, you look so great. What happened? Oh, I worked with Dr. Beth Frates. Okay, great. Then they contact me. They say, I want the same program as James. But you're not James. So I can't give you the same program. We're going to do a lifestyle medicine program. We're going to look at your exercise, your sleep, and it's going to be different. And I want to lose 20 pounds is not a SMART goal. Because first of all, I don't know if it's realistic. And there's no time frame to this. And it's not action oriented. Lose by doing what? We need some action. Are they going to start swimming? Are they going to start biking to work? Are they going to get a stationary bike like my dad? What are they going to do? Are they going to change their diet and add vegetables? What's the action? And whatever action we pick, how is that measurable? And it's got to be specific. So that's critical, learning how to set goals for yourself and for your patients. Now, here's that book I love, Tal Ben-Shahar's Happier. And in there, he does talk about goal setting also. By pursuing work, education, and relationships that yield both meaning and pleasure, we become progressively happier, experiencing not just an ephemeral high that withers with the leaves, but lasting happiness with deep, stable roots. And that's what we're striving for with wellness. Now, stress is not going to go away, right? We just need to learn how to manage it. The engineering term, stress, means pressure or tension exerted on a material object. The psychological term, a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. What we don't often talk about is what eustress is. That's flow. That's good stress. It gets us moving, helps the creative juices flow. Oftentimes when people are complaining about stress, they're really talking about distress, excessive stress that's creating strain and excessive tension on the body and mind. Now, when we do have chronic stress, excessive tension in the body and mind, you can get deleterious effects. One of which happens to be in the hippocampus, that special area that we talked about that exercise can help, stress actually can hinder. And this is one of the examples that isn't well known, but something that we need to know. So how are we going to avoid this? You're going to learn how to chunk the challenge. And you're going to think about Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's work. His book is called Flow. Here's his key graph and the key concept of flow. X-axis has skill level, Y-axis has challenge. We want to get into flow, a state where we lose track of time. We're so engrossed and involved in the task at hand that we don't know how much time has passed. This is like hours could pass. And you're so happy doing what you're doing. You're challenged to the point where you continue to be motivated to do more and more and more of this activity. Now, when you have a high skill level, but the challenge is very low. So for you guys, if I said to you, you need to read The Cat in the Hat, the Dr. Seuss book, I want you to read that 35 times. Okay, you're going to be so bored. You're going to sit here in boredom after the first time for sure. Now, what if I said to you, you have to read the textbook of electrophysiology in 1 week and then write a 12-page report on it and hand it to me next week? I know you're very smart, all of you. Maybe you could do that. So let's change it because you're smart medical students, residents. So let's change that. You have to read the book tonight. And then by the end of the day tomorrow, give me the 12-page report on the textbook. Summarize it in 12 pages. What? That's going to put most people in anxiety mode. Or suddenly I tell you, oh, the step exams have changed. They're tomorrow. So try to prepare today and tonight. We can do a brief review tonight for you. What? No, that challenge is way too great. So let's do something like, let's talk about that reading the whole textbook and the paper. So if you get something like that, or someone tells you you need to do something similar to that, which is a challenge way too great for the amount of time or skill level you have, you can do a number of things. Either get 12 students together, right, and say, can we do this collaboratively? Yeah. Okay, so you each read a chapter, and there's 12 chapters, say, and then you each just write one page. So you actually delegate and you get help, and then you could maybe meet the challenge. Or you say, hey, could you give me 12 weeks to do that? Because I think I could do that, each chapter and a page summarizing the chapter each week. So could I have longer time? So chunk the challenge so you can get into a flow a flow channel. Chunk the challenge so you get into your flow channel. So whenever you get something and it just seems beyond you, either get help from a mentor or friends, or try to change the task so that you can meet the challenge. Another thing you can do if you have time is increase your skill level in whatever it is that you're doing. I talked about deep breathing. There's a certain technique Andrew Weil has put forward for stress reduction, 4-7-8 breathing. You breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 7, and you breathe out for a count of 8. So the inhalation exhalation ratio, exhalation is twice that of inhalation. And that's exhalation. On the exhalation, you turn on that parasympathetic system. So learning how to do deep breathing now, if you're not already doing it, will be critical. This will be very helpful for test taking for you all with your board exams. It will be helpful when you're managing challenging patients, when you're running a code, there's so many times you're going to be in a very stressful situation, and you've got to try to be calm and creative. And taking deep breaths is a really powerful way to do that. You want to learn more about mindfulness and meditation, Headspace is a great app. 10% Happier, Dan Harris, is also a very good app. John Kabat-Zinn, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. He has many different books. You can actually look him up on YouTube and do meditation with him on the computer. Dr. Herb Benson here in Boston, he's now 85. He started the relaxation response back in the 80s. And he has some wonderful resources at the Benson Henry Institute. Medical students actually in the latest research were showing that listening to relaxing music was one of their greatest stress reducers. I mentioned this again, yoga, perhaps Tai Chi to reduce stress. If you want to know more about stress, it's www.stress.org. It's a great website. And a really important concept for you all is when you're stressed and worried, don't stress and worry alone. Call a friend, call a family member, call a mentor. If you're really, really stressed and worried, you need to reach out and get help. I talk a lot about timeouts. You may have heard these, with toddlers, they need timeouts. Okay. Sports teams use timeouts as empowerment moments, right? Something's not going well. The coach calls a timeout. Why? Regroup, strategize, get a better way forward. And that's what we're looking at here. We are using breaks to find a better way forward so we can be our best selves. Now, I talked about hourly breaks, timeouts from sitting. That's really important, avoiding that sedentary physiology. Taking your vacation time and unplugging and enjoying just being stress-free, readjusting. You may use that time to be creative and think about your career in big picture, not in a stress way, but getting out and swimming the Atlantic Ocean, or just getting out and relaxing, doing the things you love to do is really, really important. Finding some time to sit in silence. understanding the value of silence and reflection. These all help us move forward. It's Stephen Covey's seventh habit. If you don't know Stephen Covey, he has fantastic work on productivity and sharpening the saw is the seventh habit. So look, if you're cutting down trees and all you do is keep cutting down trees, soon what's going to happen? Your saw is going to be dull. If you don't take a moment and sharpen your saw, you're not going to be able to cut down many more trees. So taking that brief break and sharpening your saw is the key. That's why we all need breaks. Sometimes going to a CME course is a great break for us, and it's a way to sharpen our saw. But it's not a vacation. That's a different thing. You need the vacation too to get into full relaxation mode. There's research about productivity and breaks. So when you feel your focus is declining, take a walk or look out the window, let your mind wander. I like the whole idea of standing up, again, because you're avoiding the sedentary physiology. Maybe take deep breaths. Getting an alarm to go off every hour to remind you of this is helpful. And the break can just be 5 minutes and you are rejuvenated. Studies show you're more productive when you go back to work. If you're working on a paper or you're working on computer or something that's keeping your concentration focused for over an hour. Now we're into natural energy. What is energy? The capacity to do work. I mentioned finding your strengths with the investigations, right? VIA, Strengths Finder. When we identify our strengths and we use them, we are naturally energizing ourselves. I said it led to contentment, happiness, because when we're using our strengths, we get into that flow channel that we talked about with Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's work. It's really important to understand our own motivators, our intrinsic motivators. Why is it that we would want to exercise it? Why is it that we even became a physician? That's going to get into purpose, one of our other steps. But thinking about our motivators for things, it helps to reset us and often re-energize us to keep moving forward and propelling us towards our goals. Cherish the charismatic people in your life. What is a charismatic adult? Julius Siegel coined this term, and one of my major mentors here at Harvard, Rob Brooks, about 80 now, he's been talking about a charismatic adult for years. And I love the concept. And when I teach it to physicians and others, they embrace it too. And I want to share it with you. Charismatic adult is someone from whom you gather strength. You are with them and you feel energized. You don't even understand why. You feel a little bit low. You go see this person, your friend, maybe your mom, maybe your grandma, your grandpa, maybe an aunt or uncle, maybe a mentor. You see them, you engage with them. And suddenly, when you're finished, you feel lighter, you feel better, you feel happier. And when you're in trouble, you also feel confident and comfortable calling on this person. It's called a charismatic adult. It's important to identify these people in your life. You need to be able to reach out to someone when you're hurting. I also like to say the power and the joy of being a charismatic adult for others is amazing. So think about, are you a charismatic adult for anyone? Maybe your friends, maybe family member, I don't know. Maybe not now, maybe you will be in the future. But I do hope you can identify a charismatic adult in your life now. And also finding places. For me, it's Nantucket. It's an island off of Cape Cod I've been going to ever since I was a small child. It's a happy place for me. I can envision it and I can feel happy just envisioning the place. Look at pictures and feel happy. Think about memories about it, feel happy. When I'm there, I'm really happy. For some people, it's pictures. And that can help change their mood. There is actually research that shows we need to try to spend 120 minutes in nature each week. Now, of course, there was COVID, people couldn't be going out. Well, there's also research that shows if you look at photographs of nature, especially green, it can reduce stress. Some of you may have noticed that dentists are using this. I noticed it. I was at my dentist's office, I was lying down. I looked up, oh, there's a beautiful picture of a waterfall and a forest. And beautiful greenery up here, trying to reduce our stress levels. So some other research around exercise and natural sources of energy, many people feel fatigued. We do as physicians, as medical students, our patients do. A lot of people are low in magnesium. One of the best ways you can increase your magnesium is by eating nuts, natural sources of energy. That's what we're striving for. Getting our sleep, and that's 7 to 8 hours of sleep, by the way. That's the recommendation, not 5. If you have 5 hours of sleep, you can come to Harvard and be in a sleep study, and you will be in the sleep deprived category. If you have 7 to 8 hours, you'll be in the rested category or branch of the study. Exercise in itself energizes us. As you know, we increase the number of mitochondria, which actually they're the energy powerhouses, right, of our bodies. When we exercise more, we have more mitochondria. So that's very helpful. And as we said, we actually, many of us feel energized right after exercise and more creative after exercise. Stanford study shows if you walk 20 minutes versus sit for 20 minutes, your divergent thinking increases by about 60%. Your creativity, your out of the box thinking, divergent thinking increases. So if your guys are working on a problem, you may want to go take a walk for 20 minutes and then see if you can solve it after that. Talked about nature. Animals. At Harvard at medical school, they have a dog that you can go and visit on Tuesdays. You can play with the dog, pet the dog, because you actually release oxytocin when you pet a dog. That's a feel-good neurotransmitter you may know about. And there's pet therapy in rehab hospitals, and you may know about that. Friends can be great sources of natural energy. Now, mind you, there can also be leeches, and they can drain you. You need to know the difference. You need to spend more time with the lilies and learn how to set boundaries around the leeches. A lot of people use caffeine. There's nothing wrong with coffee. I myself enjoy coffee in the morning, 1 to 2 cups. There's a problem that many of us get into or in residency and medical school of drinking coffee throughout the day. Problem is, I don't know if you learned about it in pharmacology. I did not learn about all drugs, but not caffeine. Caffeine has a half-life of 4 to 6 hours. If you're consuming it at 3 p.m., which a lot of people do because there's a 3 p.m. lull, then you're going to have half of it in your system by 7, maybe even at 9. So you have what we recommend in lifestyle medicine to patients for ourselves. Don't drink any caffeine after noontime. And if you're having trouble sleeping, don't drink any after, say, 9 or 10 o'clock. And also, there's caffeine and other things like chocolate, and so you have to think about that if people are having trouble with their sleep. Now, you may wonder how does caffeine work? And again, I didn't learn this in pharmacology. I wonder if you did. But it binds to the same receptor as adenosine. Now, adenosine builds up throughout the day, and by 11 p.m., it actually is at a level such that it is a signal for sleep. So adenosine is important for our natural rhythm for sleep. What are some tools we can use? And an energy journal. Keeping track of what energizes you, what people energize you, what projects energize you, what days you feel most energized. Really thinking about energy takers, energy givers, and trying to avoid unnatural sources of energy. I know a lot of people are doing these, I don't know, I don't even know what they're called, Jolt or energy drinks. And it's a slippery slope. I mean, it's much better to try to use natural sources of energy. Now, I know when you're on call, there are things you may be drinking the coffee and you may need to stay awake. I know I did that. But when eventually you don't have to be on call and you can control your hours better, it's important to really think about your consumption. If you're really interested in this, Tony Schwartz has the Energy Project, and there's a great book, The Power of Full Engagement, that I would recommend to you. Getting close to the end, step 10 is purpose, finding your purpose. Now, many of you know that. You're in medical school and you know perhaps what you want to do after medical school, or you're in residency now. You want to help people. A lot of the burnout that happens is that people, physicians, residents, disengage from their purpose. They get drained. When they re-engage with their purpose and they realize that what they're doing is what they always wanted to do, and they can actually connect their day-to-day life with their overall mission and purpose in life, things feel better, a better sense of self, an increase in well-being. Some of you may be saying, well, I just knew I wanted to be a doctor. For me, it was help prevent stroke, help people lead a healthy life so they don't suffer in the same way my dad did. So for me, it was always my mind thinking, how can I empower people to lead healthy lives so they can avoid disease? It's lifestyle related. If you see a vision of yourself in 10 years and 20 years, that's helpful. If you can think to yourself how you want to be practicing, what kind of family life you want to have, what you're dreaming of being in 20 years. What's your mission statement for yourself? What are your core values? If you can't answer vision and mission, go to core values. Who am I at my core? What are the things I feel are most important in my life? And then what are my priorities? If you don't know Viktor Frankl, let me introduce him to you. He said this very wise quote, everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life. Everyone must carry out a concrete assignment that demands fulfillment. Therein, he cannot be replaced, nor can his life be repeated. Thus, everyone's task is unique as his specific opportunity to implement it. So we all have a purpose. Now, Viktor Frankl, he has a book, and I'll share it with you, Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor. He went on to create logotherapy, making meaning out of suffering. So we all are going to experience some suffering. It's part of life. We find some meaning in it. We won't fall into despair. This is also helpful for our patients. I talk about this with stroke survivors all the time because they tend to lose purpose. They tend to feel their life has no more meaning and they cannot do what they used to do. The idea is, well, what can you do now? And what will work for you now? If you can figure out your specialty and find your job, and your job can be like play, we've heard that many times, then your ikigai, your reason for being, your meaning in life, reason for getting up in the morning is fulfilled. Like for me, my ikigai really is helping people lead healthy lives. And that's what my job is. And I feel lucky. If you think about what you love to do, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, what you're good at, come to the intersection of all these things, passion, your mission, your vocation, your profession, and get your ikigai. So thinking about these, if you're thinking about what specialty you want to go into, by the way, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon, I want to be a pediatrician, I want to be so many things. I loved everything in medical school. But ultimately, I said, what will get me out of bed? I didn't even know what ikigai was, but I said, what's going to get me out of bed and make me feel like I'm making a contribution to this world that I have to make? And when I have kids, what's going to get me out of the house, away from my babies, my cute kids? And it was serving in that way, helping people adopt healthy lifestyles so they will not get a stroke or diabetes or cardiovascular disease. Turns out research shows people who have a purpose, a strong sense of purpose, live longer. They have a lower risk of cognitive decline. They have a lower risk of disability, and they have positive relations with others. That's what research has shown us. Here's the book I would recommend. It's a short book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. And if you're thinking about working on purpose, it's what are your gifts? What are your strengths? What are you involved in that's larger than yourself? And exploring perhaps religion or spirituality, whatever you want to call it, something greater than self. And what is important to you in this world? And having discussions about it with friends, family will help you. Sleep, it's not complicated. We'll talk about it. How much nighttime sleep do you need? Right here, if you're 17 or older, 7 to 9 hours. Napping is okay 20 to 30 minutes before 3 p.m. It won't disrupt your evening sleep. Getting in a routine, I know this is hard. It's not going to happen when you're in medical school and you're on rotations or when you're in residency. But when you can get into your own routine and you can get the 7 to 8 hours every night, that's going to be terrific. Now you're not going to be able to do that, but it's going to be okay. It's a short period of time. But when you have your weekend time or you have rotations where you're not on call as much or you're able to get the 7 to 8 hours, take advantage of that and work to get your 7 to 8 hours. One of the things you need to be aware of is DWD, driving while drowsy. Residents, before the new restrictions in my day, when we could be Q2, we were one of the #1 causes of DWD accidents, driving while drowsy accidents. And a lot of research has been done, especially in Australia, around this. Being awake actually impairs our ability to react. So they compared this to alcohol levels. Being awake 18 hours is similar to a blood alcohol level of 0.05. Being awake 24 hours, your reaction time is similar to a blood alcohol level of 0.10. And if you recall, 0.08 is considered legally drunk. So I did fall asleep after surgery rotation in medical school at Stanford. I was at Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, and I was doing my surgery, and I was trying to impress everyone. I stayed up all night, and I did extra notes, and I don't know. I did. Anyway, I knew I was exhausted when I got into my car. I said to myself, I should probably sleep in the call room for at least a nap of an hour or two, but I didn't. I said, no, I should go home. Santa Clara Valley Medical Center is a half hour, 20 minutes from Stanford. I live on campus at Stanford. And so I got in the car, and I guess I drove a little while, and all I know is I woke up on a street that I had no idea how I got to the street. And I woke up. Thank God I didn't hit anyone or anything. I just woke up. I guess I put my foot on the brake. I don't know, but I woke up in a street that I I shouldn't have turned onto, but I did. Nowadays, actually after this, my husband made us live right next to the hospital. So when I was at Mass General and at Spalding, I lived in apartments where I would walk to work. But it's worth taking a nap. It is worth it, and not driving far distances when you're exhausted. When I'm tired now, I pull off and I take a nap. You want your bedroom to be a cave, quiet, cool, and dark, 60 to 70 degrees. 67 is an average temperature. Quiet, and earplugs or noisemakers if you need it. And then dark, but you know this, to avoid blue wavelength light, because that's what blocks melatonin. You want your pineal gland to release the melatonin naturally. I know people take melatonin supplements, but we'd rather that the pineal gland works on its own. So you could do these glasses that block the blue wavelength light. You can get apps for your phone, your computer, whatever. But best would be to put this thing away, any device, 2 hours before sleep. I'm sure that's probably not going to be something you think is possible, especially if you're studying for exams and things. So think about getting the blue light blocking glasses or apps. If you're wondering about your own sleep, here's a questionnaire you could take: internalmedicine.med.sc.edu. You could Google a questionnaire for sleep. Here's a great resource: National Sleep Association, American Sleep Association. The whole idea is to get in your circadian rhythm, get sunshine in the morning, and try to go to bed at the same time each night. You can't do this when you're on call. This is when you have rotations that allow you to go to bed, when you can control your own bedtime and wake time. So here we are. Lastly, social connection, and it's not last because it's not important. It's one of the most important ones, and COVID has taught us, together and for our patients, how important social connection is. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those of you that did psychology in college, physiologic needs at the bottom, So this would be water, food, safety needs next. And what's after that? So after shelter, food, and water, we need love and belonging. Then esteem, need to know and understand aesthetics, self-actualization, and transcendence. But look at this. Right after safety, shelter, food, water. Now, high quality connections is what we're going for. This is Jane Dutton's work. You can get this free online, chapter 17, The Power of High Quality Connections, Jane Dutton. High quality connections have greater emotional carrying capacity, the expression of more emotion, positive and negative, and safety felt in doing so. This is a high quality connection. This is not just someone that you know. This is someone that could be like a charismatic adult in your life. This is someone, if it's your spouse or your partner, you're hoping and you're working to cultivate a high quality connection. The ability to bounce back after setbacks. A best friend, a good friend in medical school. You want to cultivate a high quality connection. So the relationship has generativity, openness to new ideas and influence, as well as its ability to deflect behaviors that will shut down generative processes. What are those? Avoiding things. When something uncomfortable happens, like running away. No. So a high quality connection, when something uncomfortable happens, it's, whoa, wait, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. Can we talk about this? So this idea of expressing more emotion. Yeah, you celebrate things, but when you're uncomfortable, you speak up. Otherwise, you're not going to have a high quality connection. I feel uncomfortable. This conversation makes me anxious. Can we talk about this? When you talk about, or when you say XYZ, or when you use this tone, I get this feeling inside me. It's always, I feel this inside me. And you talk about it with the person. You don't just brush it under a rug and hope it goes away. A high quality connection. You also talk about, wow, I had so much fun when we, went together for dinner, or I really enjoyed our conversation about purpose, or I really liked that movie that we saw together. That, it's also positive things. Or, hey, you really make me laugh. Like I love when we're together because I know we'll always laugh something. And lastly, here's our tools. Look for mentors, supervisors, colleagues with whom you can cultivate high quality connections. You're not going to have a high quality connection with everyone. Nobody does. But you can create them with specific people that you feel close to. I can't say it enough. Never worry alone. Reach out to someone if you're worrying. And think about ways to get involved. Now it's hard with COVID. You can't really be in too many groups. But when we finally get out of this, getting involved with more groups than medical groups is going to help. It's going to help with variety. It's also going to just help you in your life in general, get different perspectives on the world. Because I love physicians, many of my friends are, but I gain a lot from my lawyer friends, business friends, other friends that can kind of add a different color to the day. And that's our journey together this evening. And I really hope that you've learned something. I hope there's something you'll take away and that you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That was awesome. That was a lot.
Thanks, Dr. Frates.
Oh, thank you. Oh, is that Jim Eubanks?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being with me here. Did you learn something? No, you already heard all this.
Hey, you did a great job. We're always learning something.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We had one question come through that I just want to propose to you quick. So one of the attendees was just interested in what is the board certification process of lifestyle medicine like?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. So basically, if you go to American College of Lifestyle Medicine, you will be able to read a little bit about it, but the body that certifies is the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, the ABLM, and they specify all the qualifications there, but I will let you know that to be boarded, you basically need to, if you want to be a boarded physician, be boarded at this point in another specialty, and then boarded in lifestyle medicine. And what you do is you have to take the exam that I wrote with other colleagues, and you need to write up a case study. You need, I think it's about 100 hours of CME, positive, on lifestyle medicine, a certain number of hours of CME in lifestyle medicine, live as well as online. And then you can be boarded. Now, nurse practitioners, nurses, other people can be boarded in lifestyle medicine. They could, but their title would be lifestyle medicine, not physician, but lifestyle medicine specialist, lifestyle medicine practitioner. You can see from the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine, but it's basically taking courses in lifestyle medicine, taking the test, seeing patients. So you have a case study in lifestyle medicine, and that's the basic trajectory for it.
So you could do that from any specialty?
Exactly. Good point. Sorry. Right. Any specialty. Any.
That was just his follow-up question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a great question. But I mean, people always ask me, so what should I do? You should do what you love, because at this point right now with lifestyle medicine, people are making their money predominantly doing their specialty. We haven't yet gotten the point in lifestyle medicine where people are making enough money through reimbursement that's carrying them. Now, I'm doing it out of pocket. I started this in 2008, completely different than what's going on now, before there was even board certification, in fact, and really did it through a sort of lifestyle coaching practice. Those people that are doing a concierge practice, they can make it. It's a risk. It's a concierge practice. But right now, doing a residency in something else, getting boarded in something else, and then getting boarded in lifestyle medicine, most people are making the majority of their money in the first thing. Like, they're doing family medicine, by the way. A lot of people, family medicine, internal medicine, actually PM&R, I think it's a great one. A lot of people in PM&R are going into lifestyle medicine, and cardiology, but that's internal medicine and then cardiology. But surgeons are going into lifestyle medicine, orthopedic surgery, plastic surgeon, friend of mine, is now boarded in lifestyle medicine. So it goes along with a number of different specialties.
Somewhat related to that, one of the questions from Saray, she's asking if you know if there's any PM&R programs with an associated lifestyle medicine curriculum, such as some of the family and preventative medicine residencies.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Saray. So Loma Linda in California, they have a residency curriculum. Interestingly, I'm working with them now on a curriculum that can be adopted by any residency. And I personally would like to try to pilot it at Harvard, where I am. So what I would recommend is that you look at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. There's an education tab now. It's new as of a couple of weeks ago. And if you click on that, you can then click on residency, and it reveals the residencies that are utilizing this lifestyle medicine curriculum from ACLM, American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So that might be a good thing to do. But I would pick my residency based on what I love. You can get the lifestyle medicine information and coursework outside of your residency. There's a whole online CME course from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, entire curriculum, hours of it, that'll help you actually get to that board certification number of hours that you need. It's available at the ACLM. So anybody in any residency could be taking that, in other words. if that helps.
And then just the last question, a little bit about dieting.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on kind of a hot button topic recently? If any thoughts on intermittent fasting in regards to lifestyle medicine? Is that something that you're currently recommending to any of your patients?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there's some good data on it, actually. The way I have done this with people. Okay, so, well, first let's use personally. I actually don't eat after 8 at night. And I wake up and it's 8 in the morning and I will not have eaten. I've basically done a 12-hour fast. And to be honest, I think a lot of that is what our rhythm is to do. Now, most people are eating throughout the night, as you well know. So I think that's one of the best things that we can do for people and for ourselves. But the intermittent fasting. So I have patients who have done it and they're actually really successful and they do lose weight. Now, here's the problem. To a patient that I've worked, every single one gets to this point. Can't do it anymore. I've lost weight. It's worked out. And then it's usually 2 months or so. They just can't do it anymore. Now, that's fine to use it to lose some weight, but then what will the strategy be when they can't do it anymore? You don't want them going back to the old ways. So you've got to be able to get them into some regimen, and that's basically going to be kind of a Harvard Healthy Plate, 3 meals a day. You're going to get them basically into a healthy pattern of eating and not eating at night eventually. But the research is pretty good and strong on intermittent fasting for weight loss, decreased inflammation. It's just very hard to maintain. I don't do it personally. I've read the research. I've got clients that like it and do it, but like I said, it's very hard to sustain.
Yeah, I've had that personal experience too. I was able to do it for about 2 months, lost a ton of weight, and then I fell right back in the trap of eating bacon, egg, and cheeses in the morning.
So, I mean, honestly, that is what I see time and time again. But anyway, I hope that what I said helps.
And somebody I promise this is the last question, and we'll let you.
That's totally fine.
We'll let you go. And have you heard anything about plant-based diets specifically to reduce psychological stress, in addition to the physiologic stress?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, at Harvard now, Uma Naidu is a colleague, and she is creating sort of a lifestyle psychiatry. Stanford actually is very involved in it too. So yeah, there's a lot around food and stress, and diets and reducing depression. What does it turn out to be? Yeah, plants and avoiding sugar, because this spike, up and down spike of processed meals that often have sugar layered on top of salt and fat and then more sugar. But the simple sugars that everyone goes to, the simple carbs, the cookies, I mean, as you know, you're getting the spikes up and down. The pancreas is releasing the insulin every time you get your glucose spike, right? And then high insulin levels actually great for fat storage. And then what happens? They're hungry again because the insulin has gone up, the glucose has gone into the cells, and now we're hungry again. It's this sort of cycle, and it doesn't do well for our psyche, our psychology. So I think a plant-based diet, if you looked it up in PubMed, depression and plant-based diet, depression and diet, you'll see more articles on it, but certainly it is one of the things that we do recommend for people who are struggling. Now, look, it depends on how severe the depression. Of course, we're not against medication. I mean, antidepressants are fabulous. As you heard me also say, exercise is terrific. I would want sleep in there. I mean, with depression, honestly, most of the time, there's also trouble sleeping. Now, of course, the depression can cause the trouble sleeping, and then there's stress. That's why you need the whole wheel. Actually, you need to be looking at the whole wheel, but nutrition is a big piece of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Frates. That was fantastic, and we were so happy to have you. And I
Oh,
think that this is going to get a lot of attention once we post it as well. There was a lot of people that were interested in coming, and I just think that there was a lot going on tonight. But
Lord. Yeah.
But thank you so much. Enjoy Nantucket, and hopefully have a great weekend out there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here. Thank you.